Hey folks, Mr. Dell here. We are looking at dividing and multiplying fractions. Okay, so taking fractions and dividing them and or multiplying them, as well as the fact that some of them are positive and negative. So this is I'm using these four examples from CPM course 3. This is section 3.2.3, specifically number 3-98. Okay, so let's start with the first one. This is a division. So 5/4 divided by 7/16. Division of fractions can happen in a couple ways. I'm going to show you both ways. For this one, I'm going to show you the division of fraction by getting a common denominator. So we'll divide these fractions, but first, in order to divide them this method, I need a common denominator. And I'm going to use this method because getting a common denominator here wouldn't be so bad, because that's a 16, that's a 4. So that just means I have to adjust the first one to be something over 16. So when I adjust that to be something over 16, remember I'm multiplying by a giant 1 here of 4/4, right? Because 4 times 4 is 16. That's how that denominator becomes 16. And if I change the denominator to 16, I change the numerator to 20. 4 times 5. So now I have 20 divided by 7/16. Once I have a common denominator, the denominators no longer matter. What I divide now is just the numerators, because everything is in the same parts. There's 20/16 and 7/16. So the same parts divide out, and we really are just left with 20 divided by 7. So since 20 divided by 7 doesn't divide evenly, what we do is just rewrite it as a fraction, 20 over 7, right? Division is the same thing as a fraction, right? The fraction does represent division. So 20 over 7 is my answer for this problem. If you wanted to change that to a mixed number, if that made more sense to you, you could go 7 goes into 20 twice with a remainder of 6. So it's 7 or 2 and 6, 7. So you can have either answer. All right, B. B, that symbol in the middle is multiplication. So now it's multiplication of fractions. So when I multiply fractions, remember, multiplication of fractions is just multiplying straight across. So it's 10 times 5 on top and 13 times 11 on bottom. And I know I have this negative out front, right? So it's a negative 10/13 times positive 5/11. So that just tells me my answer is going to be negative, because it's a negative times a positive. So then on my numerator now, 10 times 5 is 50, and then 13 times 11 is 143. So my answer here would be 50 over negative, then 50 over 143. Okay, so let's do another division. So this time I'm going to divide. I showed you division using a common denominator. We can do that again, but getting a common denominator for 11 and 21 might be a little bit more cumbersome. So this time I'm going to show you using division as multiplying by the reciprocal, right? So what we do is the 9/11 doesn't change. And division of a fraction is the same thing as multiplication of the reciprocal, which would be 21 over 20, right? So instead of dividing by a fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal, okay? Turning that fraction upside down. So what we've got now is, now I'm back to multiplication, which I just did up here, and I have a positive times a negative, so I know my answer is going to be negative, right? So it's negative what? Well, 9 times 21, that goes on top. So you multiply 9 times 21, because that's what I have now on the numerators, and then the bottom it's 11 times 20. So my final answer is going to be negative, and let me just, 9 times 21 is 189. 189 over 11 times 20 would be 220. And there's my answer. Okay. All right. So then last one here. This one, Again, you could choose multiplying by the reciprocal, which you flip them over, or getting a common denominator and just multiplying the numerators. If I look at my numbers, in this case, I have an 18 as my denominator here and a 3. So that actually wouldn't be so bad to change the denominators for this one here, right? Because I would change it to have an 18, which would mean multiply top and bottom by 6 over 6. So this becomes 18 on the denominator because 3 times 6 is 18, but then 8 times 6 is 48. So now 8 over 3 is the same thing as 48 over 18. And again, it's still negative. Don't forget to bring along your signs. And then divided by, that's already a negative 5 over 18. So I have a negative, first of all, I have a negative divided by a negative. So my answer is going to be positive. Anytime you have a negative divided by a negative or negative times a negative, it's opposite of a negative. It all cancels to be a positive. So then I have 48 divided by 5. I only need to worry about the numerators. So I could stop there. There's my answer, 48 over 5. Or if I wanted to make it in a mixed number, 5 goes into 48 9 times with a remainder of 3. So 9 3/5. Either one of those answers. Okay, there you go.